I don't believe the American dream is owning a home. I believe it's being in Walmart. So.
Golden tickets, baby.
We got a deal at Walmart. Woo!
Unbelievable.
We did it, yeah. That's great.
Best day ever.
We are so grateful for this deal.
I've already texted everybody.
It's still all very, very surreal.
It is a dream come true, seriously.
All right, good morning. How are we feeling, everybody? Wow, okay. All right, I'd like to bring up some friends of mine. We are your Walmart and Sam's Club radio team. My name is Kirby Gwen. We've got Bo, and of course, we've got Chris. Now, of course, I think we can have a little more energy. Is it open call day or is it open call day? Now we are ready to begin. Now there's only one way that we start a Walmart and Sam's Club function, and that is with a cheer. So everybody to your feet. Give me a W. Give me an A. Give me an L. Give me a squiggly. Give me an M. Give me an A. Give me an R. Give me a T. What's that spell? Walmart. Whose Walmart is it? And who's number one? All right. Sounds like you guys have done that before. Maybe a little bit, just a little. All right, now the video that you just saw, those were some of our golden ticket winners throughout the years, and those individuals are just like you. Tomorrow could be your moment, guys. It's a big day. We are celebrating 10 years of Open Call, and that means 10 years of opportunities for entrepreneurs across the world, individuals just like you in the room and on Zoom. We're so happy to have you here, and we have a little bit of a tradition that we like to open Open Call with each year. Every year, we love to invite our governor from the state of Arkansas to welcome our Open Call participants. And of course, we're not going to mess up tradition, 10 years strong. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome the former White House press secretary, the youngest governor in our country, and the first female governor of Arkansas. Join me in welcoming Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Good morning. You know, it's not every day I get to come into a crowd like that. The legislature in Little Rock could take a few cues from this crowd. I have to say, I like this group a little bit better. It is so wonderful to be here, and it's great to look out into this crowd and see so many incredible entrepreneurs and business leaders here for Walmart's 10th annual Open Call event. I want to start off by applauding Walmart and their commitment to Arkansas. We are so proud to be home to the world's largest company, and we are so thankful for their continued investment in the natural state. You know, I know that it can be a little bit nerve-wracking when you have to step in front of a crowd and make a presentation, probably take a few questions throughout the day. And I'm here to tell you, it's actually as bad as you might think it could be. I'm only kidding. I think that the group that you'll be in front of will be much easier than most of the crowds that I find myself in front of. And I have no doubt that some of America's greatest success stories are sitting right here in this room today. Open Call is just one of the amazing events that they put on to bring entrepreneurs right here to our state. I think my favorite part of this event is how it asks everyone to think outside of the box, to be ready for just a little bit of anything. You know, I'm a mom, I have 3 kids. My daughter's 11, my boys are 10 and 8. We do chaos at our house actually really well. I think I was one of the only people that went to the White House to get a break because it was easier than being at home trying to help raise our 3 kids. And, you know, being a parent is actually great preparation for difficult situations. As I was getting ready this morning, I was thinking about a time not too long ago when our daughter was getting ready for her first ever father-daughter dance. And it was a big deal at our house. She'd clearly seen one too many princess movies. She had this perfect vision of what that night was going to look like, and it was my job to execute it flawlessly. So we spent all day making sure she had the hair, the dress, the nails, every detail exactly perfect. And I thought this was a pretty special moment, pretty big deal. And so I was sitting upstairs putting the finishing touches on my daughter Scarlett, and as I'm talking to her, sharing what I think is a pretty incredible mother-daughter moment, I'm telling Scarlett how beautiful she is, how proud I am to be her mom, how thankful we are that we get to raise her. And as I'm having this special moment, I started to get teary-eyed and choked up. My amazing daughter reaches up, pats my shoulder, and says, "It's okay, Mommy. One day you can be pretty too." So you see, those moments in life prepare you to take on whatever challenges you may face. I'm sure that many of you have gone through some difficult things to get here, but just know that those moments will be what help prepare you for the difficult challenges ahead. I know that the team here at Walmart is looking for the next product that is going to change the face of American retail. That's a pretty big order. And we're big fans of thinking outside of the box here in Arkansas. Not that many days ago, our family moved in to the Arkansas Governor's Mansion, and we are certainly doing things differently there. I have 2 boys, like I mentioned, and as I walked outside, I hear all this crazy commotion, and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. Finally, I find my 2 boys have stripped down to basically nothing, and they're swimming in the front fountain of the Governor's Mansion. Now, I go out to my 8-year-old son, George, and I'm like, "George, what are you doing?" He says, "It's okay, Mom, be cool." He's like, "It's not like we're gonna drown." I said, "George, the concern here isn't that you're gonna drown. It's that you're basically naked in the front yard of the Governor's Mansion." That didn't seem to faze him at all. But in all seriousness, I'm proud to be one of our country's youngest governors and the first mom to ever hold this office. And I'm proud of the fact that we're shaking up the status quo here in Arkansas. And for those that are from out of town, you've probably seen here in Northwest Arkansas, our state's economy is absolutely booming. Our unemployment rate reached a record low earlier this year. More Arkansans are working than ever before. Northwest Arkansas is one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas in the country. And all across the state, thousands are moving here from everywhere. This is incredible news. But I believe that we can push Arkansas's economy even higher. In the first 10 months of my administration, that's exactly what we have focused on doing. We've cut taxes not once but twice to help us compete with low-tax neighbors like Tennessee and Texas. We're investing in education to appeal to newcomers and build the workforce that we know is needed for the next generation. We raised starting teacher pay from $36,000 to $50,000, going from the bottom 5 to the top 5 overnight. And I know that if you've spent any time here in this area over the past couple days, you've had the chance to see the gorgeous scenery that is right here in Northwest Arkansas. I hope you've had a chance to visit Crystal Bridges or ride on one of our great and new bike trails that run all through this community. And you're not alone, because Arkansas has had nearly 50 million tourists that visited last year alone. It has literally never been a better time to visit Arkansas, invest in Arkansas, or move to Arkansas. If this is your first trip to our state, I know it will not be your last. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your commitment to entrepreneurship and small businesses here in our country. And we look forward to seeing some of America's great success stories born right here later today. Thank you and good luck. We're glad you're here in Arkansas.
Hi, I'm Governor Brad Little.
Hello, this is Governor Henry McMaster.
I'm Florida's Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Nunez.
Hey everybody, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee here.
I'm Missouri Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe.
Hi, I'm Washington Secretary of State Steve Hobbs.
Hi, I'm Governor Jared Polis, and I'm so excited to congratulate our Colorado-based entrepreneurs that participated in Walmart's Open Call event.
Our Commonwealth is cheering you on today as you showcase that Pennsylvania grit and ingenuity and hard work that has made you so successful.
I'm Governor Cox, and I'm thrilled to know that so many of the products being pitched at Walmart's 10th annual Open Call event today are being made right here in Utah.
Your products result from an idea, followed by grit and ingenuity, and we're so proud to have your companies based right here in Florida.
Talent, imagination, and innovation, when accompanied by perseverance and discipline, lead to progress and prosperity. And you are the proof of that. Good luck.
I hope you're as proud as I am that you've helped create jobs for Utahns in pursuit of your passion.
To all of you, congratulations, and I wish you the best of luck for your meetings, and thank you for supporting manufacturing in the great state of Idaho.
Good luck to everyone. I want to see your new product, your new service, your disruption in shelves across the country. You're going to do it. Good luck.
I wish you best of luck today. Thank you for supporting manufacturing and commerce in our great state.
I wish you the best of luck in your meetings, and thank you for supporting manufacturing in the great state of Florida.
To each Tennessean here today, congratulations on this significant achievement and good luck.
Governor Parson and I wish you the best of luck. We are the Show Me State, so I know you will do great showcasing your products.
Good morning. This is one of my favorite days of the year. The energy in this room is just incredible, and I'm so excited that you all are here today. So first, I'd love to say we're here for you to bring your products to showcase and pitch and create opportunity, not only for yourselves, but for our local communities. So this actually started about 10 years ago when we announced that we were going to commit to sourcing $250 billion of products right here in the US. Not only did we deliver against that commitment, we actually went back and doubled down and said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and source $350 billion more here in the US. But it didn't start 10 years ago. A lot of people thought that we did this in 2013, but actually, Mr. Sam had a program where he kicked off Bring It Home to the USA program back in the 80s. And we found this Walmart World magazine touting some of the products that he was bringing back all the way back then. So our commitment to making product here in the US is a huge part of our culture. What I'd love for you guys to understand that a lot of people don't actually know is that over 2/3 of our product spend today is made, grown, or assembled right here in the US. That's huge. For a company like Walmart, those purchase orders are incredible. They actually have a ripple effect on our local economy, and they create jobs not only for the supplier community, but the people who are supporting your raw materials and the transportation and the creation of product that you're making in your local communities. It also has a benefit to our customers, right? Because that product can get to them faster, and it gives us more resilient supply chains. So it's a win-win for the customer and for the business. But sourcing locally isn't just a US strategy. We're actually doing this in all the markets in which we operate. And this Open Call event has inspired us to do similar events in Mexico, Chile, and India. So I'm super excited that y'all are here today. I'd love to take a minute to thank Jason and the Made in America team for putting this on and bringing all of you here today. It's incredible, and we're so excited to have you here today. Some of our great work that we have planned today, we've got awesome programs. I know you've got your pitches tomorrow. I wish you all the best of luck in your pitches. We've got an incredible agenda. We've got some people here in person. We've got some people on Zoom. So with that, I'm going to keep the train rolling and kick it to John.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? Good, good. I agree with Andrea and everything you heard from the governor as well, that this is a great place to be and a great place to spend a couple days. I grew up pretty close to here, so I'm a little bit partial. But it's important to just step back for a moment and remember that our founder, Sam Walton, was an entrepreneur. And he chose Northwest Arkansas for a lot of reasons. And from one small location on the Bentonville Square, built the company that we are all fortunate to be a part of today. And I'm really excited about the day because it gives so many people a chance to highlight what you bring to consumers, to innovation, to product and packaging, and be a part of a platform that can deliver this really broadly. So, you know, like Andrea said, over 2/3 of what we manufacture is made, grown, or assembled here in the United States. You'll get to be a part of that. And by being here, you'll get to be a part of our Walmart Marketplace. And the Marketplace is a great place to start because it'll give you the opportunity to be in front of customers, to build content, to build product display pages, and figure out the best way that you can reach cohorts of customers who are interested in what it is that you offer. You know, there's some great examples too of businesses, and I'll talk about a couple that have come through Open Call and have grown with us over the years. And there are also great examples of manufacturing facilities that are opening up around the country. And just recently, I spent some time in South Carolina at a couple locations, one in Anderson, one near Greenville, one that makes bicycles here in the United States, they assemble here, another that's in power equipment, and those create literally hundreds of jobs for communities. Then recently, I had a chance to spend a bit of time in South Carolina, or I'm sorry, in Texas, and San Antonio, and I've got a quick video I want to show of that. So this is Beyond Green, and the teams here, we're going to talk about them in just a second. But this was an idea that came through this meeting really, really recently, and things moved quick. It was an idea about combustible products that led us to a couple of questions, which is, well, I understand what you do and the science behind it, but could you go make us some cutlery and use this technology? And we recently got to spend some time with the entire team. So I'd love for the Beyond Green team to stand up, if you don't mind. So they ran out of this meeting and figured out how to pivot and took the technology and they make compostable, disposable cutlery. And it was great to see that the facility is up and running in an area of San Antonio that needs investment, which you've done. It's in over 1,000 stores and hopefully going to expand much quicker. So do know that while there's a lot of pressure and the storytelling's hard, you're going to get a lot of help and advice. The opportunities are absolutely real, and they're real here for you. So I hope that today goes really well. I hope tomorrow goes really well. I hope this is the beginning for many of your relationships that we'll have for a long time. I'm always inspired by the stories and the innovation, and in so many ways, the American dream coming to life right here in Northwest Arkansas. So thanks for your time. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for getting to know us. And I just want to wish you the very best and best of luck. Thanks.
Okay, I have the great opportunity to introduce to you a Emmy Award-winning TV host, producer, narrator, podcaster, spokesman, author, recording artist, and leading advocate for skilled trades. He is the creator and host of Discovery Channel's Dirty Jobs, and he has worked in every state alongside hundreds of Americans in over 350 vocations. Maybe they haven't all gone that well, but he has done it. He has also previously been a supplier to Walmart and has a foundation that has awarded $7 million to 1,500 recipients across 48 states in 19 trades. Please join me in welcoming Mike Rowe.
Hello.
So, Mike, I think you've had one of the most fascinating careers.
Do you?
Yeah, not the cleanest, maybe, but tell me, how did this all start? What was the start behind Dirty Jobs?
Well, I mean, it's a long story. You guys have seen the show, I assume? I'm not. Yeah. Anybody not seen it? Get out. Simplest show, I think, maybe in the history of TV, except for maybe the Gong Show. You know, I mean, it's. I assume the role of an apprentice. I spend a day working side by side with somebody that has an actual job. The viewer gets to see an unfiltered look at what that job looks like. Dirty Jobs never had a script. We never had a pre-production meeting. We never had any actors. We never did a second take. Honestly, it was aggressively unvarnished look at work. And it happened, honestly, it was just a mistake. I'd been freelancing for years in television in general, and I was maybe 42, and my mom called me. My mother's out of control, by the way. She's a 3-time New York Times best-selling author today. She's 85 years old.
Wow.
And she's amazing, but back then she was just a pain in the neck for me. And I was working at CBS, and she called me. I was sitting in my little cubicle, and she said, Michael, you know, your grandfather turned 90 today. And my pop, by the way, quick sidebar, some of you might know him, not by name. His name was Carl Noble, but he built the house I grew up in without a blueprint.
Wow.
Right? You take your watch apart, put it together blindfolded, right? He just had that chip in his brain. He's sort of a hero to me. Anyhow, the handy gene, as some of you might know, is recessive. So I didn't get his toolbox, but he encouraged me to go in another way, and that's how I got in entertainment. And 25 years later, I'm sitting there at CBS, and my mother calls me to say, Michael, your grandfather just turned 90 years old. He's not going to be around forever. And I was just thinking, wouldn't it be terrific if before he died, he could turn on the television and see you doing something that looked like work? Anyhow, I took a cameraman into the sewers of San Francisco the next day, filmed everything I saw, which is a story in and of itself. That footage found its way to Discovery. They said, well, this is weird. And I said, yeah, it sure is. And that was 20 years ago. And Dirty Jobs has been on the air every single day for 20 years.
Wow.
So blame my mother.
One of the things I love is you see real dignity in this work. Tell me, what surprised you as you've been doing this job?
Well, I had a front row seat growing up, thanks to my pop and my dad, who really had sort of a master-apprentice relationship. And years later, it was my mother again who said, oh, Michael, don't you see what you're doing? You're just trying to channel that relationship that you grew up with between your grandfather and your father. I'm like, well, thanks again, Mom. You know, it's like, we're working it out for me. But it's it's relationships. It's a band of brothers mentality that you often find on job sites, construction sites, crab boats, factory floors, manufacturing facilities. It's always there. The dignity of the work is always there. But I think maybe the thing that surprised me, maybe not surprised, but I realized how important humor was on the job site.
Yeah.
And how important it is to be in on the joke. Whatever that means to you, right? You have to be willing to laugh at your boss, maybe not when they're looking right at you, but you have to You have to be willing to find humor in your own mistakes and in your own company, and just delight in the people that are around you. And I found that on Dirty Jobs to a degree that I did not really anticipate. Such goodwill, you know? And I think part of it is once people realized we weren't really making a TV show, we were making, we were flies on walls, you know? And so when the workers saw that, they began to extend an extraordinary amount of trust to me, you know, because they knew if there was a joke, it was going to be on me. Yeah. And we weren't there to make fun or do anything else. We were just there to try to do the work and to show them at their realest. Yeah. And you know, you can't fake that. And once we got that on the air, you know, here's the real dirty little secret to that show. As much as I'd like to look back and tell you that it was all the result of a carefully crafted plan, the viewers programmed it. Every episode of that show was the result of somebody writing me a letter or going on Facebook and saying, hey, you thought that last thing was dirty? Wait till you see what my brother does, my cousin, my uncle, my sister, my mom, my dad. Wait till you see what they do. And so if I had a light bulb moment back in the day, it wasn't that, oh, this is a really funny show, or, oh, this was the beginning of reality TV. I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking, man, we've ignored a huge part of our workforce for a long, long time, at least in the TV world. And we've never done a really honest job of celebrating that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I kind of Forrest Gumped my way into it. And then once I realized that, I stuck around.
I love it because it is a little peek into the fabric of society. And, you know, there are such rich stories in people's lives and just the everydayness of people's lives. And I love how you highlighted that with humour. But tell me, like you talk about getting these letters. Have you ever gotten one of those letters and gone like, oh my goodness, I don't like that can't actually be a real job?
Well, I'd say maybe half of them, you know. I mean, look, I'm not a stunt junkie. I'm not a thrill seeker. I'm a regular kind of guy who had a pretty decent career in entertainment and suddenly found himself in this like Groundhog's Day in a sewer situation where every day I was the apprentice. Every day was that first day on the job, whether it was building a bridge or cleaning skulls or collecting golf balls and recycling them and shit. I mean, it was just an endless list of, you gotta be kidding me, you know? I mean, from catfish noodling, you guys are probably familiar with that. I mean, I didn't think that was a job. It was one of the first things we did. We talked about it at dinner last night. I'd forgotten about that. Actually, not forgotten. I had just erased it consciously from my... Like 20 years ago, I'm in Shawnee, Oklahoma with a little tiny crew because I met some guys who claimed to be authentic fishermen, and I thought that sounded interesting because I grew up fishing, and the next thing you know, you're in your underpants in a river with a couple of hillbillies, and you got your hand in a rock waiting for something to bite it so you can pull it out and hold up the catfish and go, hey, I noodled, right? And that's a job, and I didn't think it was, but it is, and so you do it. And you learn, and then you have a chance. I mean, this is like the best part of the job in many cases was going back to the Super 8, you know, or the Motel 6. We stayed in all the finest places. You know? By the way, if there's a number in the hotel, I mean, like if they spell out the number, like the 4 F-O-U-R seasons, awesome. But if it's the 4 seasons, so all our hotels had numbers in them, and I'd go back. She's having a heck of a time signing this, I'm sure. It must be numbers, hotels, what? But I'd go back and I'd always take out my journal and I'd try and write about what happened in that day and who I met. And if I learned anything, I'd write that down too. And that became as important a thing to me as the show itself. Because, to your point, Dirty Jobs wasn't really about dirt, and it wasn't even really about jobs. It was about people. Yeah. It was a talk show in a sewer. And the people you meet on pig farms, the people you meet building windmills, it's just, you said it before, they all have a story.
Yeah.
And if you let them tell it, you're going to wind up with something better than you thought you were looking for. Full disclosure, it's part of why I'm here today, too. I mean, look at the stories in this room.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had my old crew with me and we went to your place and then to your place to watch what you were doing, and it would shoot itself, literally.
Yeah. I do think like we have some amazing stories in this room. There's a lot of excitement and ambition and hope. But if we go back kind of 10 years ago, you partnered with us then as well. And you've also been a supplier to Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any advice for people here today, or do you want to just talk about that experience at all?
No.
Okay, it's going to be a short interview.
No, it was, well, first of all, I mean, Walmart played such a huge part in really the first couple years of Dirty Jobs, because we shot mostly in small towns, and you guys are everywhere. And so the routine was we'd land, I'd go to Walmart, I'd buy some clothes that I knew I would never, ever take home. I would destroy them in a bat cave or a septic tank or a sewer, and then I'd go back to the Super 8, sometimes the Motel 6, and just leave them in the bathtub. Sometimes I'd leave a signed headshot and with $20 for the maid, just a short letter of apology, you know, because we did some awful things to our clothes, many of which I got in your fine establishment. But as the show went on and got more popular, somebody said you should do a cleaning product. And I thought, well, that is kind of a slam dunk, a Dirty Jobs cleaning product. And we found a terrific supplier, and we put it together in a way that we were just so thrilled with. And we tried it, my friends tried it, my mom tried it, who's brutally honest with everything. She said, Michael, this is one of the best cleaning products I've ever seen. We were super excited, got all the best people involved, made a deal with Discovery, got their permission, like there's licensing concerns, like all this stuff is happening. And we came here to pitch it, and I was very good in the room, very good, Kath, you know, everybody liked it, everybody nodded, and then they took it. They said, yes, we'll take it. And I said, this is great, how much do you want? And they were like, all of it. And I said, wow. They said, yeah, all stores. They took the Dirty Jobs cleaning product, which was great, and they put it in all the stores, and what could possibly go wrong? Well, everything, right? I mean, everything. And I guess, you know I'm going to talk a little bit later about this, and I'll tell you the whole brutal story if you want, but mostly, in a nutshell, I learned a lesson that I had already learned a dozen times in my own industry, which really just comes down to, service your distribution, right? Just don't get over your skis. Understand what it is and don't swing for the fences. Do the thing you can control. When I think about how Dirty Jobs snuck onto the air, how so much of it happened organically and authentically, and then I think about all the deliberateness and intentionality I brought to the product, I realized I wasn't giving it the same shake, And so, I've thought a lot about it over the years, about what could have gone better. And, you live and you learn. But just because your idea is great, and just because you have partners, and just because you have encouragement, just because you get on the shelf, it's like, I think maybe I thought that's the goal. If I can get it on the shelf, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'll just go someplace warm and wait for somebody to send me checks, but that's where the work starts.
I think that's a really good point, because the goal is not just to get it there, but the goal is to build a product that people fall in love with. So, yeah, that's great insight for everyone here today. You are also really invested in looking after skilled tradesmen. And I think you've got your own program where you invest and give money back.
I do.
Do you want to just tell everyone a little bit about what you're doing there?
Yes. Yeah, I do. Because honestly, it's, I'm proud of it. And to the last point, I didn't set out to run what's turned into be the noisiest foundation in the country in defense of the skilled trades. It's the last thing I thought about doing. The handy gene, as you'll recall, is recessive. My mother, as you'll recall, called me to basically double dog dare me to do something that looked like work. So a bunch of things just happened, serendipitously. And then 5 years later, in 2008, Dirty Jobs was the #1 show on TV, on cable, and in 160 countries. And our country went into a recession. And people started to ask me what was going on. Like, why were so many people out of work? And yet, why were 3 million jobs open that couldn't be filled? It was very strange to see headlines every morning about unemployment and then go out to shoot dirty jobs and see help wanted signs. So there was some other narrative going on in the country. I wasn't sure what it was, but I talked a lot to the people who invited me into their places of work, and they all said the same thing. Our single biggest challenge is finding people who are enthusiastically willing to show up early, stay late, and learn a skill that's in demand. They didn't care about college degrees. They didn't care really about resumes. They cared about work ethic, individual responsibility, a decent attitude, delayed gratification, and a real hunger. Like all that old, happy Horatio Alger stuff. That's what I was hearing. And honestly, that's what I grew up with. That's what my granddad was about, And so I got pretty good cards. And then it was 2008. And then I thought, well, what if we start this little foundation to give me permission to tell the stories of the opportunities that I had come across in the course of shooting the show. And that worked. I went to Congress 3 times. Don't do that. Sorry, Sarah. It's just, but you know what? It gave me a chance to talk enthusiastically about, and anecdotally, about the things that I'd seen and the opportunities I'd seen. And that made a difference. And so the fans of the show built a trade resource center online to help connect people with a lot of these jobs, and that made a difference. And then we started raising money for scholarships. And today we award work ethic scholarships to kids primarily who want to learn a skill that's in demand, not 4-year degrees. Nothing wrong with those, I got one. But the problem, I think, right now in this part of our economy is that we've got nearly 11 million jobs right now that are open. The vast majority of them don't require a 4-year degree. They require training. They require competence in a skilled area. But we're still telling this generation of kids, as we did the last one, that the best path for the most people is the 4-year degree, which coincidentally is the most expensive path, which shockingly is why we're looking at $1.7 trillion in student loans currently on the books, nearly 11 million open jobs that don't require the very degrees we're sending kids to get, and the pressure that we're putting on this generation to make these life-changing choices is pretty incredible in my view. And so I use the platform I have today to suggest gently that we're lending money we don't have to kids who are never going to be able to pay it back, to train them for jobs that don't exist anymore, and that's dumb. Meanwhile, there are opportunities over here. And they're not noodling. It's not all about getting half naked and pulling out a catfish, right? It's plumbing, it's steam fitting, it's pipe fitting, it's welding, it's heating and air conditioning, and my granddad's trade, electric. That's really what he was. And so the shorter answer to your question is I did it because my mom was right, and my granddad and a lot of other people did want to see something that looked like work, and that got me a show. But then, so what? Getting a show is like getting it on the shelf. It's not as hard as you think. Keeping it on the air and making it relevant for 20 years, that's a tougher trick. And so this foundation has enabled me to do that. It's given me permission to go around the country and talk to groups of people about the changing definition of a good job, permission to wander out of my lane a little bit with regard to education and workforce, and permission to work in my chosen field, in my chosen trade, on projects that matter to me. So Yeah, the foundation's important to me today because we've got 1,500 examples of people who have prospered as a result of learning a skill. And it gives me more to talk about than exploding toilets and misadventures in animal husbandry, both of which we can get into later if you'd like.
We love that because at Walmart we have Live Better You, where we actually help people get either a college degree or a skilled trade for free. And we think that's a really important thing that we do with our associate base and in communities. So I think for me, what I'm hearing today is, one, everybody needs a good mum.
It helps.
Two, there's really great dignity in work, and there's some amazing jobs out there across the US. That there's a lot of opportunity for everybody here in the room, and the ambition is just not get it on the shelf. It's what happens after that. So as one last thing, we wanted to just kind of help contribute towards the foundation that you have, and so we wanted to share with you a gift of $25,000.
Oh,
that is so awesome.
Thank you. So please help me thank Mike Rowe.
Thank you. Gonna need a bigger wallet.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jason Fremstead. I have the great privilege of leading the supplier development team. Before I get into a lot of my scripted stuff, I want to say it's super fun to go get a big check. Like, it takes a bit of work to go figure out how to get the big check, but it's even more fun to give it to Mr. Rowe and to his foundation. So thank you, Kath, for doing that. Thank you, Mike, for being here. Later on, we'll actually do a longer form interview with Mike after the break, so please come back and check that out. So I am thrilled to welcome each and every one of you to our 10th open call event. Pretty amazing. We've done 10 of these. So many amazing stories. We obviously just got to see some. For me, before taking on this role, I was a merchant. And as a former merchant, I was always amazed by just the wealth of creativity that came in this room and the absolute passion from the entrepreneurs. And it's so cool when you're a merchant because you get to sit on the other side of the table and you get to hear the story, you get to hear where the idea is from, and you really get that front row seat to like what's next, like what's our customers going to see next, what becomes their must-have when they come to Walmart. So before I go any further though, I do want to pause and I would like to ask our past, the suppliers that were recognized in our video, if they would stand up and be recognized. These trailblazing suppliers that came ahead of you exemplify what it means to go from an idea to a success story. And each of you have that opportunity. They were all in your shoes at one time, came to an open call event, and now back to help support the open call event and bringing an awesome success story with them. Now, for us, open call is not just an event, it's actually the cornerstone to our $350 billion U.S. manufacturing initiative. But beyond that, it's a testament to the incredible potential of American entrepreneurship. And for me, it's incredibly exciting and honored to be part of that here today with you. We're here to find great items, absolutely, but we're really looking for like what's going to be the next great innovation for our customers. That's what this is about. What we're looking for is what's going to continue to drive customers back into our stores. And so one of the things I want to make sure that we talk about as you're on that journey is if you're given that great opportunity and get a golden ticket, we'll be here to support you on your journey. A bit of a slide here that shows one of the teams that we have in supplier development on supplier capabilities. And really what we've done is partnered with teams across the organization to make sure that we are building the foundation that allows for greater success coming from new suppliers in Walmart. Because it's definitely a difficult company to work with, and we want to help navigate that path with you. So what you will see if you receive a golden ticket, a couple things are going to happen. First, you'll get a congratulations email from us. We'll send that to you. We'll give you a reference guide that'll give you a lot of tips and tricks and ways to find things within the Walmart ecosystem, which, trust me, is very valuable when you're first starting your journey. Secondly, November 8th, we're going to have a webinar. We're going to pull everybody together, and there's going to be a couple teams represented to make sure that we're giving you all the information that you need to help set you up for success on that journey of becoming a Walmart supplier. And then finally, after that meeting, we're going to send you a bit of a roadmap of next steps to make sure you're set up for success, because we know how hard it's been for you to get here, and what we want to make sure, if you get that big opportunity, that we can help continue that journey for you and make sure that you have all we can offer to ensure that you're successful. So as I said before, I was a merchant for many years. I sat in the audience. I got to do all the meetings. And I always, as a merchant, thought, you know, if I got an opportunity to be on the stage and talk to everybody, I would give 2 pieces of advice. So bear with me on my 2 pieces of advice that I'll provide you. Number 1 is focus on the differentiation of your item in your meeting. Why is your item special? Why do we have to buy it? Why do customers need it? Focus on it. Don't worry about the market. Your merchant knows about the market. They know what's going on in the market. What they don't know is what is so special about your item. What's the differentiation? Why can't we live without it? Focus on that. Number 2, and a bit of a callback to what Mike and Kat talked about, is be realistic about your capabilities. Do not overcommit. It's okay to say you can't handle that many stores. If you can do 100 stores, do 100 stores. If you're asked to do 1,000, you can only do 100. Say, hey, I'd really like to start with 100 because I know I can service those stores. I know I can be successful there. That is okay. I have seen the opposite of that, and I've seen it where when suppliers are realistic, the success continues to grow because we want to grow with you. We don't need you to overcommit. We want you to be successful. So please think about that in your meetings. Differentiation and being realistic about your capabilities today. As I start to wrap up, I do want to mention one thing I always think it's worth talking about when you're in this room is just the historical, just context, nature of this room. We're in a room where so many Walmart past and present leaders have presented, including Mr. Sam. The culture that's here, all the great speeches and the teachings and learnings that many of us have had, it's just such a special room. There's been so many global business leaders that have come through here that we've had an opportunity to learn from and hear from. And each of you today are on the brink of becoming part of that tapestry, part of that rich history of Walmart, part of the 61 plus years that we've been in business. And we're so excited for you. We're truly so excited for you. So thank you for being part of this event. Best of luck on writing your own success story with us over the next couple of days. And we hope this becomes a milestone event that all of you remember for the rest of your careers. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Megan.
Good morning.
Hi.
Megan. I'm Latrice, and I lead the merchandising team. Megan and I have the teams that you all will be meeting with today and tomorrow. So we wanted to come and say welcome, and that we're glad you're here. And you heard Jason talk about being a merchant. Once you're a merchant, you kind of have that hunger for items and merchandise, and so we couldn't help but give you a few tips. Megan and I are here to share some ideas that we have about what the day or tomorrow will be like, and to encourage you.
We have lots of ideas.
We do.
And lots of encouragement. So here it goes. It really is a pleasure to spend some time with you all today. I think we talked a lot about Mr. Sam. I didn't know 1980s. Like, that's an amazing ad, but he would have loved this day because this is really what he was all about. Find new, fun, exciting, great items that would serve our members and our customers and just delight them. So I think he would have thought this was fun, exciting, and definitely part of our mission of saving people money so they could live better. And honestly, it's a really fun part of our jobs too.
It's an incredible part of our job. It's hard to believe that it's been 10 years. I know you've heard that over and over again, but for those of us who were here when we started, it's still hard to believe, but the constant is the energy and the enthusiasm that you'll see from your merchants, and that I'm sure that you'll bring to each of your meetings. But it's a time as a merchant that is really special, and it's always one of my most favorite days. Do you have any memories of Open Call?
I mean, after 10 years of memories, I have plenty, but they are fun ones. There is just a vibe to the day. I'll tell you all, like, if you walk up and down these halls in the vendor rooms, like, you peek in these rooms and you like want to see what's going on. I mean, you may see an executive riding a scooter, you may see a celebrity pitching a burger or bourbon. Like, you never know what you're going to find, and it's so fun just to see the little discovery, like the little moments of happiness. So, plenty of good memories, but also plenty of good products. So, 10 years of products, Latrice. Do you have any favorites that you can think of?
Well, there's some incredible brands. You saw some of them on the slide, and you saw that some of those brand owners are here, which we love. Levabella Wines is one of my favorites. Are you all here? There you are. Athletic Brewing, they pitched in 2020, and they've grown to actually add a second facility. Did I get that right? Yes, good. And we've also had Proud Source Water. They were a big ticket winner last year. There they are, with water in hand. Sustainable company that was highlighted as last year's winner. They have distribution in a number of stores. And back to the point that was made earlier, you're in about 600 stores, and obviously we also sell lots of items online. It is about doing what you can do, committing to ways that you can serve customers and that you can do it in a way that is reliable and that works for your company and for ours so that we never disappoint customers.
We've had some success stories at Sam's Club too. Yep. So, Dude Wipes, are you in the room? No? Okay, how many people have heard of Dude Wipes? I am obviously not their target audience, but I will tell you, they have delighted many of our members over the past few years, and it's been a really good growth story for us. So, and we look at success, obvious growth, but it's been highly incremental to our business as well, and it's led people down aisles, and they've been able to discover even more items at Sam's Club. So, one I'm definitely very proud of as well.
Lots of great items. Dude Wipes is one of those great items. It's hard to forget. If you've been here, you've heard of Dude Wipes. But what makes a great item, Megan?
Ooh, that's good. So here's where the tips and training come into play. So what makes a good item? It is a high quality item. It comes at a very disruptive price, and remember that. And it usually solves a problem or a need for our customer or members. So take notes on that. And then representing Sam's Club, because obviously that's what I do, we like to ship our stuff on pallets. So if you're going to talk to a Sam's Club merchant today, think about pallets, because we buy in pallets, we ship in pallets, we flow in pallets, we stock in pallets. So that's one of my fun little tips for what makes a great item. But Latrice, we've been in lots of supplier meetings over our tenure here at Walmart and at Sam's Club. What makes a good merchant meeting?
It's fun. I love the open call merchant meetings. I love to just show up in a meeting and see what's happening. The 3 things I'd tell you to bring to the meeting is the enthusiasm that you have for your product. No one knows it like you do. No one spent the time investing the energy and resources into that item or into the brand that you have. Make sure that your merchants get to see it. Kath talked about it. Make sure it's a proposition that the customer wants, that you're bringing innovation, and Jason said differentiation to a product. Why do we need that item? Why do we need it now? Why do we need it online or in the stores that you're pitching? And then the last thing, one of the things we think a lot about here is cost. And what are the components of your cost? How are you thinking about cost? Because we owe the customer a great price. an everyday low price. So cost is at the heart of that. So making sure that you're thinking about how you get to that cost so that we can generate a price that feels great for the customer, so that the enthusiasm you've put into the product and the need that the customer will have for the product then shows up at a value for them and on their behalf.
Yes, costs. We're pretty excited about costs. So if you hear any of that, you probably will talk about it with your merchant, but it is in service to make sure we have a great price, because we really want to build trust. That everyday low price, it's who we are, and it's what our customers and our members expect from us. So make sure you have that conversation. Okay, what's about to start? So I will tell you, thank you for giving us some time today. Thank you for being here. We're excited for you all. We hope you have a fun experience. We hope you enjoyed this day as much as us.
Have a lot of fun. You didn't come all the way to Bentonville to be super serious. Have some fun
is good.
while you're here.
It's allowed.
It's allowed and it's expected. Have a great meeting.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Latrice. All right, we are nearing the end of our morning session. So if you're joining us virtually, we're going to give you a quick break, and we ask that you join us back here at 10:15 online for a special segment with Mike Rowe. However, if you are in the room, you are in for a special treat for this next portion.
All right. If I get everybody grab a seat, we're going to bring Mr. Rowe back up to have a bit of a longer form interview. That includes you, Wayne. You got to sit down too. All right, thank you, everybody. Wait till everybody grabs their coffee. I know that's a long time to sit, so I'm glad everybody got a little chance to stretch, get some coffee, get some water. What we're gonna do now, as everybody's getting back together, we're going to bring Mike back out. What I asked Mike to do while he's here, he got to do a great short presentation with Kath. And so what I wanted to do with Mike is do a little bit longer of an interview with him. He's got some incredible stories, and I wanna make sure while he's here that we give him the opportunity to share those stories with you and make sure that you leave with some of the knowledge that he's gained over his career. So with that, I believe we'll bring out Mr. Rowe. There he is, there he is.
All right, so bathroom.
Get you a seat and a water.
How are you?
Thank you, sir, good, good.
Good. No, they're still here. Good.
We lost a few, but that's okay. That's okay. Mostly is the Walmart people we lost. So these are the important people to be talking to this morning.
Good, good.
That's what we have you back for. So first and foremost, thank you for being here. Thank you for making the trip in to hang out with us. Really do appreciate it. Got to talk to you a little bit last night, and then really just excited to talk to you about a lot of the topics we have today. Kath did steal some of our thunder that we had planned.
Didn't know where she was going. But
I didn't either. I was like, I think that's my question. But here we go. So we're gonna have to mix it up a little bit. So one of the things Kath was supposed to talk about, by the way, Kath's CEO of Walmart International, she can do whatever she wants. It's fine. It's completely fine. So please don't tell anybody I'm judging how she handled the interview. I'm not what I'm doing that whatsoever.
You've seen her business card, right?
I have. She's the boss to the second power of me.
Yes.
So yes. So anyways, one of the things you were going to talk to Kath about that I want to make sure I give you the opportunity to talk about is the sweat pledge.
Oh.
So we have that right here. And so I thought this was really cool, but I wanted to start off here and let you explain this to the audience and just your view on that, and I have a couple questions.
So I mentioned the Mike Rowe Works Foundation.
Yes, sir.
And I mentioned that its main purpose was to award work ethic scholarships. And we do that because there are lots of great scholarship programs out there, but most of them reward academic achievement or athletic achievement or artistic achievement. And we thought work ethic would be a fun thing to celebrate, very, very specifically. But of course, how do you quantify it, right? I mean, you can't look into somebody's heart and see, oh, well, there's a hard worker. So we do a number of things, and we've constructed a series of modest hoops that our applicants need to crawl through in order to apply. But one night, after some wine, I sat down and said, well, you know, if I were to write a statement of purpose, what are the things that mattered to me growing up, and what are the qualities that I'd most like to find in somebody who works for me and with me? And I just wrote down 12 things, and then we put them in order, and then we started asking people to sign it. And it was just a simple thing, but as it turned out to be controversial, like everything is today, right? I mean, making a case for work ethic became weirdly controversial. And I couldn't believe it. It was kind of fun, actually. But not a year goes by where I don't get a call from a parent or sometimes a student or teacher who says, I don't like number 6. I don't want my kid to sign this document, right? Or I don't like number one, right? I believe that I hit the greatest lottery of all time. I live in the United States, right? I'm, above all things, I'm grateful. Like, that's really not a tenet in our household. It's really interesting. At which point I say, well, look, that's cool. It's entirely possible then that this particular pile of free money is not for you. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And then I began to realize, you know, the scholarship game is exactly that. It's an extraordinary business. And when people run foundations, they become extraordinarily careful in much the same way people who run companies become careful. They have to be. But you really don't. I mean, if you have a foundation that stands for something very specific, you can draw lines in the sand. And really, that's what the Sweat Pledge became. It was just a goof when it started. It stands for skill and work ethic aren't taboo. And I did it because so many of the people I met on Dirty Jobs were always talking about their taboos and the things that they weren't allowed to really talk about proudly from an HR standpoint. So that was just an honest look at many of the lessons that I learned growing up, but were reinforced over the course of 350 Dirty Jobs with regard to safety and personal responsibility and delayed gratification and debt. All of those things mattered to me a lot. And I think that a decent work ethic incorporates all of those to some degree. So that's a long way of saying it was a conversation starter that turned into something a bit more. And then people started taking it seriously. And then we probably sold 100,000 of them for $10 a piece to take the money and put in our scholarship program. So it's a bunch of stuff, but mostly it's some thoughts that came out late one night after some wine.
That led to raising a lot of money, which is awesome.
Well, you know, we try to take the reverse commute with my foundation. Like there's no right way or wrong way, but there are non-traditional ways to raise money. This is one of them. Most of the money we raised early on came as a result of, I called them crap auctions. They stood for collectibles, rare and precious. And these collectibles were Dirty Jobs mementos in my garage. And so I would take one, like fossilized, bear poop, or like a baby bottle filled with the product of an artificial insemination segment that I kept for many years. I would.
Of course you kept that. That makes
sense. Laugh, man. I'm not even kidding. I was at a ranch in Texas, and wound up collecting from a bull called Hunsucker Commando. It's a true story.
I'm looking here. I don't see this on these.
No, you're not going to find that in your questions.
You keep going.
This is not.
It's fine.
I was going to get into this with Kath, but it was early, and she didn't really.
It's probably a good move. It's probably good. We saved it for this.
There's this baby bottle full of stuff, and I autographed it years later. And by the way, I used to keep this thing on the mantle, right, in my apartment in San Francisco, in the afternoon sun.
Oh.
Man, when it hit it just right, these little prisms of rainbows would go across my living room, from the spunk of Hunsucker Commando. It was an amazing story. And so I autographed the baby bottle, and I went on YouTube, and I sold it for like $4,000.
Wow.
And then I started selling all the junk in my garage from Dirty Jobs, because they all had stories, and raised about $700,000.
That's awesome.
And so, look, we're talking about stories before. That's the point. There's a story behind every tenant on the Sweat Pledge. There's a story behind everything in my garage. And if you can position it right, somebody will give you money for it, and then you can do whatever you want with it.
So on the Sweat Pledge, one thing I do want to point out, it's called a hard pivot. That I want to point out. No, on the Sweat Pledge, number 4, you talk about don't follow your passion, bring it with you. And so I think in addition to that, as you go through it, you really talk about work harder, not smarter. Work smarter, not harder. Talk about that. How do you think about that? How do you think about, as you've talked to us today, and honestly with those auctions, it's a great example. You took remnants from the show that you knew would have value somewhere. Mm-hmm. You found a market for those, as crazy as some of those items were. Probably raised more money than you ever thought doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the identification of working smart. I mean, you found these opportunities. So talk to us, if you will, about the work smart, not hard philosophy. And I'm going to throw this poster up to give you a little bit of inspiration.
Okay, so one of the things we did early on in the foundation was try and correct what I thought were some of, challenge conventional wisdom, right? And when I was 17, this would have been 1979, my guidance counselor called me down to the office to discuss my future. I had taken some tests and done okay, and he thought I should go to either University of Pennsylvania or James Madison or University of Maryland. He had it all worked out, right? And his name was Mr. Dunbar. And I sat down across from him and I said, look, a couple things. I don't have any money at all. And the only four-letter word, in my home growing up that was really off limits was debt.
Yeah.
And so we're just not going to borrow money to do this. And I said, besides, though, I don't know what I want to do. I'm 17. I actually don't have a clue. All I knew for sure, as I mentioned earlier, is that the handy gene is recessive, and I wouldn't be following in my grandfather's footsteps. So I said, I'm going to go to a community college. I'm going to study acting and singing, and I'm going to maybe some philosophy and liberal arts. And he just shook his head, and he said, look, I think he literally said that's beneath you.
Wow.
And it really surprised me because I was thinking of my granddad as I'm describing what it is I think I want to figure out. And on the wall behind him, he had that poster on the right there. And I recreated it, but that's exactly what it looked like. And he pointed to it and he said, which one of these guys do you want to be? And it hit me like that. Right? You can see there's the guy who just graduated looking optimistically toward the horizon, his whole life ahead of him because he's got his credential. And next to him is a worker in a dirty, dingy place looking down like he won some sort of vocational consolation prize, right? And that was the embodiment of the PR campaign that the country was being treated to in the late 70s for higher education. We were encouraging more kids to go to college, which I believe is a good thing, right? I think it's important. We needed more doctors and engineers and scientists and so forth. But from a PR standpoint, we were just doing it at the expense of all the other trades, And anyhow, I knew what I wanted to do, and I stayed on my path, and I went to the community college, and way leads on to way, and here I am today. But early on in the foundation, I never forgot that poster. So we recreated it maybe 10 years ago. That's me on the left, work smart and hard instead of work smart, not hard, which, by the way, if you Google that, if you Google work smart, not hard, it's dozens and dozens of pages. It's become like a bromide, right? It's a what do they call it? A platitude in our culture. That's what we elevate, and it just seemed like pretty bad advice to me and certainly counter to everything I'd learned on dirty jobs. So yeah, it was a small, little, silly thing. Work smart and hard. That's my cameraman on the right. His name's Taylor, and he is in a situation now that's way more representative of what a skilled trade can get you. $90,000 a year salary, zero college debt. That's me on the left, holding my college degree somewhat dejectedly down by my side because in this scenario, I'm $200,000 in debt and perfectly educated for a bunch of jobs that I'm not trained to do. And so I'm not wearing any pants either, if that's relevant. Something metaphorically interesting about it. But
can't afford them.
But you know what? It was just it was another thing to do because I wanted to correct that moment in Mr. Dunbar's office all those years ago. And then we sold, 300,000 of those and raised like $1 million for the foundation, which went into the Work Ethic Scholarship Program. So it's just another way to try and tell your story.
Yeah.
Small, there are no small things. That's maybe the moral of that one.
Yeah, as I talked about earlier, so a merchant for most of my career, transitioned to this role about 1.5 years ago, and get to see manufacturing globally and focus a lot, obviously, on the U.S. And I think what amazed me is, and all of you know this as entrepreneurs, is how much of the work is that it's work by people that bring your items to life, that bring these brands to life. I think a lot of customers, and I speaking a little out of turn here, believe that automation has really taken over in factories and production, and the case is that's not true. It's people that are doing skilled jobs to bring items to market. And so I think it's a necessity now more than ever to tie those two things together. We all want innovation, we all want new items, we're all excited when those things happen and what we get to go buy. But the reality is there's hardworking people behind it that bring that to us. And I think it's a great testament that it is smart and hard work that actually keeps this economy going.
Well, it's such a trap. We're living in a binary time. Everything is this or that, blue collar or white collar, hard work or smart work.
Right.
They're false choices, And I don't think the color of collars is really all that interesting anymore. I think it's a lot of blending. To your point, there's a lot of big tech and a lot of blue collar jobs, and there's conversely a lot of opportunity in the white collar world for people to roll up their sleeves. You can do both. I remember I guess it was 2016 during the presidential debates, Marco Rubio said something on stage, just an offhanded comment along the lines of, what the country needs are more welders and fewer philosophers, right? Got a big applause line, and over on social, thousands of people said, "Hey, Mike, did you hear that? This guy's really singing your song." And I said, "Yeah, I did hear it, and no, actually, that's not what I mean to say."
Right.
We don't need more welders and fewer philosophers. We need more welders who can talk intelligently about Nietzsche or Descartes, right? We need more philosophers who can run an even bead, right? It's not one or the other. And that's the trap that worries me most. And it does apply to tech too.
Yeah.
The robots are coming, they're gonna take our jobs. Well, they're gonna disrupt some things. But if you read up on the Luddite rebellion hundreds of years ago, we thought it was the end of the working world as we knew it. The weavers rose up to fight because somebody invented the loom.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't imagine how work would ever continue to exist. Well, of course it exists. It just changes. And today, it's funny. I've had a lot of conversations about the impact of robotics and tech on blue collar. And now here we are in the age of AI.
Yeah.
And people are looking at white collar and going, uh-oh, what's it going to do to that?
Right.
Well, it's going to raise hell with it is what it's going to do. But it's not going to break it. It never breaks it. It's just going to change it.
How do you think it's going to change? I think, to your point with the Luddites, same thing happened in the car industry. It went from horse and buggy to cars in, I think, the span of 30 years.
Yep.
And at that point, if you think about all of the manufacturing that happened from horse and buggy, from the buggies, the wheels, the whips, all those things, 30 years became cars. And we've seen that changeover in our working worlds time and time again. And it's those who evolve and change with it and find the next opportunity continue to grow. But there is a flip side of that where there's also the fear of, do I have a place in this new economy? Is this tool going to, end my role? So I think we're facing that now with AI. That becomes the AI, and everything moves so much faster. I mean, AI came on so fast. And before I even knew really what you could do with AI, I was shown by a colleague of mine, like, hey, this can actually reduce my work by half if you use it. And I was like, what? And then so I started using it. But I don't find it as something personally that is anything different than a disruptor. And I'll hold my opinion. I want to hear really what you think about it, because it is something that's going to impact probably across white collar and blue collar jobs differently than other things have done in the past.
For sure. Look, it's being in the buggy whip industry is different than being in the transportation industry.
Right.
You don't want to be in the buggy whip industry when the cars come along, right? But the transportation industry is still super interesting, and it's changing, and the people in it are going to adapt or die. They're going to pivot or not. It just came through the lockdowns. People understand pivoting. People understand adapting, I think. But, the feeling of dread is always the same. When we see tech coming that we don't quite understand, and we ask ourselves, well, how How are we possibly going to get past it? Somebody a week ago sent me a link. They'd gone to some chat service and basically said, narrate 2 paragraphs in the style of Mike Rowe narrating an episode of Deadliest Catch. Right? I clicked on it, and had I not known that that was this, I would have sworn you found an old episode of Deadliest Catch. Wow. I mean, it was me. Wasn't me, right? So that freaks me out.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I see deep fakes on the internet, when I see Tom Cruise who ain't Tom Cruise, you know, I can't help but wonder, well, couldn't you do that with a president? Well, sure you could.
Right.
Maybe we already have. I don't know. I don't know. So, look, that's scary, right? My industry right now is on strike. Actors are on strike over this exact issue because they don't know what the impact is going to be on their name or their likeness, and the studios want the right to. So all of that is real, and we're looking at it, and we're clutching our pearls, and we're fumbling our way through, and we're hoping we're not making the buggy whips right now, right? So I guess maybe I don't have anything super smart to say, but I think a lot now about those tribes that lived off the grid for all those years down in Papua New Guinea and in the Amazon, where, you know, in the last 20 or 30 years in our life, you can find people who looked up and for the first time saw a 747 flying over. Like, what does that do to your brain when you see something that you've never seen before, that you couldn't have even imagined, right? It's godlike, it's breathtaking, and it's scary. And that's the story, I think, of our lives. Yeah. That's what civilization is. You're just going along, and all of a sudden something happens you didn't think it was possible, and then you get kind of used to it, and then before you know it, you're flicking the switch, and the lights are coming on, and you're not properly gobsmacked by that miracle. Or you're flushing the toilet and watching it all go away and not giving it a second thought, right? We've become so used to so many things that we take for granted in so many different ways that I'm just always struck by how we go from gobsmacked to accepting to blasé.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, back to the lockdowns for a quick second. I know I'm kind of free associating, but man, isn't it amazing how essential work suddenly got back in the headlines? Isn't it incredible during those Zoom calls where we realize, good grief, my whole business now is connected by this invisible wire that's in the ground or behind the wall, put there by some dude whose name I don't even know, didn't even have the presence of mind to ask. My whole deal now is held together with these little filaments and these little connections. Well, it always has been. Civilization is a bunch of connected pipes, you know? And we just look at them as like these rusty things that are out of sight and out of mind. Yeah, they're just pipes.
Yeah.
The miracle of that pipe and the wonder of their connectivity feels no different in the mind of the person who is first struggling to comprehend it as we are right now looking at AI going, well, what's that going to mean? How's that going to work? And just because we don't know the answer doesn't mean we should be scared. We should be curious. Above all things, in my view, all of the time, retrenching to curiosity feels good, and it's safe, and it usually makes us smarter.
I agree. Thank you.
No, don't mention it.
Thank you for that. So one thing Kath did not talk about, and we get to talk about here, which I'm excited about, is many of you may not know, but Mike, in addition to being kind enough to come in and share some wisdom with us today, is pitching an item. And so you actually have a pitch item or pitch meeting later. Not your first. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But would love to hear about Noble Whiskey, how you founded it, and your thoughts on it, and how you're thinking about your meeting you're going to have.
You know, I haven't given it a ton of thought. I will now. No, I was sitting back there watching Dwayne The Rock talk about his product, and it really occurred to me that story, again, there's so many different ways to come at a thing. And look, the truth, which I'll tell you, is that I didn't walk through fields of wheat and rye sniffing the individual grains. I didn't ponder in my heart the idea of, mash bill, more of this, less of that. I didn't have focus groups. This wasn't a great wish fulfillment for me. What happened was my partner had a friend in the wholesale business. They basically, in the bourbon game, right? If you want good stuff, you better know what you want 5 or 6 years in advance. It's not like gin or tequila. It's not something you can just crank out. But an allotment became available through irrelevant circumstances. And the guy I know down in Columbia, Tennessee said, look, this is pretty great stuff. And if you like it, you should buy it. And you should do something with it because I know you're a fan, and come down and see what you think. So I flew to Columbia, and I tasted this whiskey, and I thought it was great. He didn't have a ton of it, but he had a bunch, so I bought it. And then I put it in a bottle. And then I thought about, what do I want this to be? What is the story? And it just goes back to my pop. Virtually everything goes back to my mother or my granddad. And his name, as I mentioned earlier, was Carl Noble, K-N-O-B-E-L. Weird name. And it died with him, actually. He only had girls. And so he had this odd last name. We're in the midst of a lockdown. Essential work is in the headlines. The Discovery Channel calls and says, hey, lots of interest in rebooting Dirty Jobs. Are you interested? And I thought, yes, I am interested. I can't think of a better time to go back out into the world and look under the rock and see what's what. And here's this whiskey. I'm going to put my granddad's name on it, and I'm going to use the proceeds to raise money for the Work Ethic Scholarship Program. See, I came a long way from a baby bottle full of semen, right? I mean, my thinking has evolved. And so I put it up online, and I tell the story about my pop, and I say, look, my plan is to market this by having honest conversations with people from Dirty Jobs. We'll enjoy a sip of whiskey and talk about all the trouble in the world. And I'll share some of those exchanges online, and we'll see what happens. I figured I had enough for 6 months, and we sold out in 4 days.
Wow.
So, distiller calls and says, hey, we can get some more of this if you want. And I thought, you know what? I looked around, to be honest, and I didn't think, you know what our country needs? What we really need right now is another B-list celebrity with another bourbon out on the shelf. That's what we need. But I like the story, and I like the distiller, and I like the idea of sitting down with regular people and having a civilized snort of something good and talking about all the trouble in the world. So I said, let's do it. Anyhow, that was 1.5 years ago. We're still very modest. I'm still smarting from the big lesson I learned 12 years ago with you guys regarding servicing distribution. And so we've just tiptoed into it. And the liquor business, as you may know, is a knife fight in a phone booth, right? It's an awful business. It's complicated. It's 3 tiers and manufacturers and shippers and distributors and taxes.
A lot of taxes.
So it's like everything about it is, I dare you. I dare you to get in this business, right? But I like the idea of sitting down and talking about my pop with something with his name on it. It was that primal. So I just said, let's just keep putting it out there. So we did a barrel strength and we did a Rickhouse edition. We just did a rye. People seem to love it. It's fun to promote it, but I have really taken my time with it. We didn't put any money into it. We're funding the business from the revenues primarily through online sales, because you don't make a lot when you put it on the shelf. But it's out there now. We're probably in maybe a dozen states. It's hard to get. It sells out. And I like it. I like the Sisyphean-ness of it. I like pushing the boulder up the hill, even though I know it's going to roll over me. I mean, look, there's a great lesson with Sisyphus, one of the great Stoics, right? I mean, people look at that trope and they see a homage to futility and desperation and just every day the same thing. But that's not what Stoicism is, and that's not what Sisyphus. If you really read the accounts of that, he was happy.
Pushing the rock.
He loved pushing the rock. And he was not demoralized by the fact that it was going to roll back down the hill. He loved it. And he knew what he was going to be doing tomorrow. He was going to push the rock. So, not to get all Aristotelian with you, but that was a big part of Dirty Jobs, too. I think a lot today about, what did I really learn from 350 of those jobs? And humility is certainly up there. You ask about don't follow your passion, always bring it with you. Huge. I wasn't passionate about whiskey. I like it, but I didn't walk around for years going, here's my dream, here's my action plan. I wasn't passionate about doing a show called Dirty Jobs. It was the last thing in the world I wanted to do. I was a host, and then I became a guest. And then suddenly I was getting the education of a lifetime from men and women who worked in sewers and farms and in our energy industry, and getting reconnected to all of these things. And really what it left me with was a kind of understanding that, look, be curious. Passion's great. Everybody in this room, I hope, is passionate about what they're doing. But I wonder how many of you honestly followed your passion here. Or did you do what so many people did on Dirty Jobs, which was follow the opportunity? Again and again and again, the people I met on that show, they looked around, they saw where everybody was going, and they said, I'm going this way, right? And then they learned, well, septic tanks need to be clean, not my wish fulfillment, but a lot of opportunity. There was a guy called Les Swanson, season 1, Dirty Jobs, from Wisconsin. Les Swanson from Wisconsin. He was a septic tank cleaner, and I met him outside of Madison one day, and we were in a pumping station, which is just a little brick building on the side of the road. You've passed them. They're everywhere. But when you go down into the pumping station, it's a level of hell they don't really teach you about. And we were standing up to our waist in unspeakable other people's filth, just shoveling the cholesterol off the walls, covered in sweat. And I paused and I looked at him. I'm like, Les, what happened to you, right?
Who hurt you?
How did we get here? And he was like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, what did you do before this? And he said, I was a guidance counselor. And I said, well, what'd you do before that? And he said, well, I was basically a psychologist, and I would talk to people and coach and this, that, and the other. And I said, what happened? And without missing a beat, he said, I got tired of dealing with other people's shit. Now, Les Swanson was 52 when he left his career in education and psychology. He did not follow his passion or his nose to the septic tank, but he looked around, he saw where everybody was going, and he went another way. 3 years later, he had 4 honey wagons, 12 employees, and later that day, he took me to his summer house. We sat next to a built-in pool where there was a margarita machine, and we sipped our cocktails and talked about all the trouble in the world. And that's where that came from. Never follow your passion, but always bring it with you. Les was very, very passionate about the business he was in. He loved it. But it was just so interesting to me to realize that not until he was 50 did he find it or think about it. He didn't know what he didn't know. All he knew was that he was tired of dealing with this, so let's try something else. So, will I have a similar story about whiskey later? I don't know. But I do have a story about dirty jobs, and it's that story. It's the story of the day my mother called me to tell me to do something that looked like work. It wasn't, I'd auditioned 1,000 times for 1,000 different gigs before that. And I booked my share. And I was happy working in my chosen field. But it took a phone call from my mother and a baptism in a river of crap in a sewer in San Francisco to finally get me to think maybe I'd be a better guest than a host. And once you think of yourself differently, those subtle little adjustments, everything starts to feel different and look different. And so, look, it's a very crooked road that brought me here. And it was a crooked road that brought me here 13 years ago when I pitched the cleaning product. Now, I have no idea how my pitch meeting will go today. But I'll tell you something else. As enthused as I am about it, the real reason I came here, the real pitch is opportunity in these United States is not dead. We're told it is. We hear about it all the time, but it's not. It's alive. It's alive and well with entrepreneurs and with skilled workers. And I don't know how much time I got left in the useful part of my career, but in the TV world, I know what works. I know where I want to point the cameras. It's with people like you, people who are going all in, who are taking a chance. Maybe you followed your passion, maybe you're following opportunity. When I walked out of here 40 minutes ago, some guy comes up to me, stops me. I didn't even know, he's probably sitting in here. Maybe I got his card. Where is he? Lucas Levine. You sick weirdo. Guy pulls me aside and says, hey, real quick, got a couple products. I got this thing, sucks the snot out of babies' heads, okay, because they can't sneeze. Sold like 4 million of them last year. Got this other thing, it's like a single-use catheter. What you do is you slip it in the baby's bottom, when they get gas, they're colicky, and, then they start farting up a storm. It's incredible. You should Google it. I did. Wow. I mean, wow, right? So, if you walk in a room thinking you know who you're going to meet, you're probably wrong. If you walk into a room in love with a plan or a proposition or a bunch of questions you think you're going to ask, you're probably wrong, right? But if you think opportunity is dead in this country, you're definitely wrong. And if you can find it in a congested kid, and then videotape it and put it on YouTube and make millions of dollars, I mean, is this a great country or what? And is that not a great TV show or what?
Thanks, Lucas. I'm actually glad that's what I didn't know where it was going to go, but that we can live with. And as a father, I understand the need for that. So well done.
And as a guy sitting here watching her sign the next thing out of my mouth, that was fun to watch too. If we could,
I didn't watch it.
No, if you got that on video, play it back because the whole business about making a baby pass gas is very, very. Watch her making a baby pass gas.
We've covered a lot of topics here today. All right, Mr. Rowe, we're out of time, but who cares?
Yeah, good.
Last question. What advice do you have? So you've shared, obviously, a ton of wisdom in the last 40 minutes, but what advice do you have? These folks are going to walk in to a meeting tomorrow. They're going to be in front of a Walmart or Sam's Club or both merchant who's going to hear them out, hear what they've brought, what they think belongs in our stores or online. What's your last bit of advice for everybody while we have you here?
Tell the truth with enthusiasm. Don't overreach. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Service your distribution. You have to, in every way imaginable. You know, I don't know, I think I said it to Kath, but it's like I had every box checked. I had it all figured out. And I was just wrong. You know, the job starts when you get it on the shelf. Tomorrow's about getting it on the shelf. But don't celebrate. You know, that's where the work really starts. And be open to the fact that, you know, your plan is fungible. It has to be, right? Be open to change. Don't be too in love with the thing you think is going to make the difference. You have to be open to it. It really, look, you know what? I'm stingy with advice because I never really know exactly who's listening. There are probably people here who need to be encouraged to step up and sit straighter and own it. And there are probably some people here who need to be told, hey, take a breath, all right? You're coming on a little strong. I don't know. I do believe cookie cutter advice is the great enemy that we face right now as a country and as individuals. There's a lot of great counsel out there, but at any given time, you need to hear something different than you, and I don't have a crystal ball for that. But I do know tomorrow's a big day, and I do know that auditioning is a heck of a thing, man. It's a heck of a thing. My life, I'm here because I crashed 2 auditions. One for the Baltimore Opera 35 years ago, and one for the QVC cable shopping channel 30 years ago. Great things can happen. Weird things can happen at open calls. But as Robert Frost said, way leads on to way. Play the cards you get, tell the truth, stay in on the joke, have fun, and make sure they see you having fun. That counts for a lot.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, sir. I'll get you out of here.